A very common question that people ask us is what makes one solar and battery system different to another? Because I've gotten, let's say, they say I've gotten a couple of quotes and there's a wide variation in prices for similarly sized systems. So, like, why the difference? So, in response, like, I would say, well, I mean, if you really had to think about it, what do you feel some of the differences could be? I'm sure you understand that not all solar and battery companies are the same. It's like the differences between like a good and bad restaurant, right? If you went to a bad restaurant, you wouldn't say, "Oh, like all restaurants are bad." We'd laugh at that person if they said that, right? And so it's for solar companies, it's very similar. So I guess to address the question, what are some of the differences? There is a long list, but one would be the quality of and reliability of the equipment, the panels, the batteries, the inverters, any other components like roof mounting equipment, and so on and so forth. Another would be the quality of installation. Does the company have in-house installers or do they have subcontractors? Um, and are they just trying to cut corners on the installation quality and just pay them as little as possible, and they just try to get the job done as quickly as possible and move on to the next one? Um, do they have an onshore office like in Australia, a local office that can provide local support, or is the company the manufacturer, the supplier, are they overseas, and then it's just the company that's importing the products? Because one issue with that is that if it's just a local company that's importing the equipment and that company is installing the equipment themselves, then that means you only have one level of warranty protection. And if that company goes out of business, what happens? No warranty. Warranty's void, company's out of business. And so I've been working in this industry for 15 years now, and a lot of companies have come and gone. There were roughly 700 companies that went out of business solar companies that went out of business between 2011 and 2019. Okay, so often these companies, they were no-name brands, or um, just didn't have as much of a reliability, or the amount of customer satisfaction. And so what happened was that they ended up getting a lot of complaints, these companies, and because of the equipment was less reliable. And so they ended up going out of business, because when they got more complaints, nobody wanted to continue doing business with them, right? And so once they went out of business, then once the system failed that the company installed, they couldn't go to them to get it replaced by that company. And so they have to go to another company to get it replaced, and it can't get repaired because nobody wants to take on liability for repairing a system that somebody else has installed and that company's gone out of business, right? So they end up having to do what? They end up having to pay twice to get it replaced, and that ends up costing them more over the long run. And when they go to replace it with the federal battery rebate, you can only claim the federal battery rebate how many times? Only once for each property. So if you get a cheap battery and it ends up failing, then when you go to get another battery to replace it, you end up having to spend more because you can't get the federal battery rebate for a more reliable battery, and so it ends up costing quite a lot more. So a lot of people, they're not really aware of these issues when they're looking into it, and so we consider it our duty of care to help them to become more aware of these issues, because we want our customers to be satisfied for the long term. and that's why we could get cheaper equipment from our suppliers, but we don't, because quite frankly we can't afford the impact it would have on our business if customers came at us all hot and bothered with having more issues with less reliable products. And we don't even know if a lot of these companies that have the cheaper equipment, the manufacturers, if they're still going to be around in 10 years compared to more well-established, more bankable companies like Tesla and Sungrow and Anker, for example. So some of the differences. So just to recap: quality of the equipment, how the level of warranty protection. Is there a local office for the manufacturer, for the supplier, for the installation company? Because if you don't have local offices with all three, it means you have less warranty protection, right? Then installation quality. Do they have in-house installers or subcontractors? What do the installation timeframes look like? Do they take months to get it installed, or is it done in a couple of weeks, in a couple of days? Because if it takes months, what's that? The impact means it's going to cost you more on electricity bills while you wait, and also more time and hassle with chasing the company up once you pay the deposit. What else? The level of customer support. How proactive is the company with monitoring the system to proactively take action if there is an issue, or are they retroactively fixing issues once the customer contacts the company? And so if they do, what do their response times look like with responding to any issues? Because a lot of these companies that are installing really cheap systems, they have less resources for providing the customer support for the long term, for providing the high quality installation. So they're cutting corners in multiple different areas for the products, the installation, the customer support. And so, again, like if the company goes out of business, that leaves them a sole orphan, and so they have to end up having to pay to get it replaced, and so it ends up costing them more because they save less while it stops working, and they have to pay more to get a better system or more reliable system. Any questions on any of that? Feel free to leave a comment in below if you've got questions. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, and you can subscribe to my other videos to stay tuned for more updates. Alright, take care.